Hello and a very warm welcome to the second episode of Tokyo Stories. And in these programs, we will be bringing you the news, the highs and the lows of the Olympic Games in Tokyo, the 32nd Olympiad. And today we look back for the team and individuals. Joining me for the second episode of Tokyo Stories is the familiar voice of show jumping, former rider himself and fellow commentator and sports broadcaster Phil Ghazala, and also former Australian Olympic team gold medalist from the 19 Atlanta Olympic Games. It is Wendy Schaeffer. You both.
Hi Spencer, how are you? Hi Wendy.
Hi there, fantastic to be here.
Well, Wendy, you're in Australia. Phil, you're here in the UK. Great to have you both joining us for the second episode. Firstly, Wendy, you were a gold medalist back in Atlanta 96. Very different times here in Tokyo with no audience. It was very, very quiet. But how are you enjoying the games thus far?
Look, it's still fabulous competition, and that's really what it's about, watching the amazing horses and, the tension of the competition. And I suppose, obviously, the competition itself and the rules, particularly the eventing now with things like the frangible pins, which became very influential on cross-country day. But dressage and what I've seen of the jumping is just, exciting competition with such quality horses. It's really great to watch.
And Phil, for you, you've been watching. I know it's been a nail-biting competition, as Wendy said, from start to finish. How are you enjoying it?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and actually Wendy was on my mind as I was watching, because I'm interested to know how Wendy was feeling with Andrew Hoy being in the team. Of course, was with Wendy in Atlanta when you won gold. To be there watching your teammate still banging them out of the park the way he has. That must have been very, very exciting, Wendy.
Oh, phenomenal. And he's just such a class act, Andrew. But interesting to sort of look back maybe 5-6 years ago. I was in the UK, living there, not even riding so much at the high level, but Andrew was sort of struggling for a top horse, having going to badminton, had a few falls and so forth around that time. And it would have been very easy to think, oh, maybe he's, that's kind of his career. And to have come back like he has, and has a wonderful chestnut horse in Vasily, such a jumper. And yeah, just so exciting to see him win an individual medal.
May I just ask one question about that fabulous horse, as you say? First of all, I think if he raffled that horse, there'd be a lot of tickets bought. But have you ever seen a horse go around a cross-country course when I think his ears were pricked 99% of the time? I mean, it was such a beautiful picture the whole way around, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Andrew just rides, I suppose, so confidently, so smoothly. So even in a couple of times, I think it was coming off the Mount Fuji drop to that sort of narrow brush, it just was like, you want to trot? That's fine. You can have a trot. And I think personally, I would have been freaking out, going, no, you've got to keep moving. And it was one other sort of, it was not even a glitch. It's just to let the horse deal with it himself. And I think to have that confidence to do that when you're riding cross country is quite amazing, and a real partnership there.
Do you think, Wendy, this year with only 3 riders and all 3 schools counting, of course, we have the substitutions should they be needed, and of course we did see that happen throughout the games in the eventing. Do you think there was more pressure on the riders this time round?
Oh, look, obviously without having any drop score situation. I suppose the other thing, though, really is we're there also to sort of have an individual medal. So perhaps we've got that pressure or expectation on ourselves as much as for the team. So yes, it is more pressure, but essentially if you're still there for the individual game as well.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew, we talked about him. 8 Olympic Games. It's some record, isn't it?
I think maybe Ian Miller did 9 jumping. You might be able to help me out, Phil. That's something I remember hearing. But yeah, huge longevity.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back to the 2 days of dressage. We had 2 full days of dressage. Of course, the weather played a massive part in the competition in Tokyo, and the whole majority did the test in the evening when it. But for you, who were the standout performances? I mean, Phil, you watched that too, but for both of you, who were the standout performances for you?
I mean, clearly Mikkel Younger's foot perfect, so deserved his lead. Perhaps could have been a little bit further ahead even. I mean, Ollie's test was fantastic too. It just doesn't have quite the same expression and movement and so forth as my personal opinion on sort of Mikkel's horse. But yeah, there was some, fantastic tests. I suppose it just, for me, it was so clear that just one little, generally mistake in the change, a little tension, and suddenly the score sort of plummeted. So it was, many that you're watching, this is fantastic, and just a little glitch, and then suddenly, like Tom McEwen, for instance, is that looking like it was going to do a 25, and then, one little glitch, and it sort of throws out 3 or 4 points. But fortunately, it didn't heed his impact, his performance too far. But very interesting to watch.
And it was very interesting. It was beautiful to watch. But Wendy, just on the dressage scores, today, to win a medal, to win any of the major 5-star events around the world, you will end on your dressage score. Was that the case when you go back when you were riding at gold medal level?
Look, really, I suppose it depended on the venue. So the badminton horse-side trials I did just before Atlanta, then yes, everyone, but a lot of people were finishing on their dressage score. I think only one horse at Atlanta made the time cross-country, was actually a French horse, and then it was the Australian horses after that. It was, I think Andrew was next fastest, then Philip, and then myself. But we were 6, 8, 11 time faults kind of thing, which was reasonably significant. But look, it just depends on the venue. I think is more specifically where show jumping. Look, obviously the courses are more or less difficult, and perhaps venues are a little bit different, but it's, I suppose, more uniform than it is with the eventing, and again, heat and humidity, different sort of aspects. But it's. I mean, look, it's a different game, isn't it? It's a much more, professional, higher standard, but like everything evolves, and I'm sure the show jumping has evolved similarly over the last 20, 30 years too.
Well, there was only one inside the time, as we know, 7 inside, in fact 9 today. But Mikkel Jung led 21.1 after the 2 days of dressage, went into the cross country. Derek de Grazia again built a fantastic track. The boys with the undulations there, the natural topography. I mean, they used every single part of that course to bring to us an amazing track, and they delivered really impressively.
Yes, certainly was a fantastic build, and so many different types of fences. Was it 4 water jumps too? Sorry, plenty of schooling and training through that. But yeah, I think at first instance, perhaps, within the first 6 horses, we had both, Ollie and Shane Rose, inside the time, and it was easy to sort of think, that's going to be a bit too straightforward. And then I was on a chat group, and anyway, one person said that, and I was like, yeah, we'll just see sort of how that pans out.
We had a fantastic day on the cross country with 31 clears around the track. 9 of those inside the time, 20%. I think that was a pretty good percentage wise, and I think the courses, I would have been absolutely delighted with that number. Going then on to the show jumping, we could talk about the cross country for hours and hours and hours, of course, but this is a very short highlights program. What were just staying with the cross country for a second, what were your standout moments and some really impressive rounds on the cross country for both of you? For Phil, let's start with you. What was your memorable moment on the cross country day?
It's very easy to just pick out the medal winners.
Mm-hmm.
It goes without saying, they put in a great performance. But I really do want to fly the flag for the man in 4th, Kazuma Tomoto. I thought was awesome.
Phenomenal.
And I'm so delighted for him that he performed like that. And I'm disappointed that he missed a podium, but I don't begrudge anyone that. But to do that at home, I think was fantastic. I mean, I know he's been doing extremely well over the last couple of years. The former show jumper, he's turned to eventing because it gave him more opportunity internationally. And he's really proved the point that I think I've heard every rider of every caliber say hard work should pay and does pay in the end. And wow, I just think his performance was amazing.
It truly was. I couldn't agree more. And for him on home soil, as you say, I mean, what an amazing rider, and he's been doing it for such a short time, only a couple of years as well, and he's got William Fox-Pitt behind him. He's got a great trainer in. Wendy, for you, cross country day.
I think I couldn't go past, just from a team point of view, the class of the three British riders. They really, looked amazing out there, and to have three clear inside the time was extremely impressive. Yeah, that would be then it was awesome to see the Australians do so well and come up from sixth to silver. Sixth place for Australians actually after dressage seemed to be a good recipe. Both in Barcelona and Atlanta we were in sixth place and had came up to gold. But yeah, to come up to silver was fantastic to them. But yeah, I suppose the standout for me was the three British rounds.
Well, it was an amazing day, and a lot of us stayed up through the early hours of the morning to watch that cross country. The show jumping, of course, they had a day off in between, and then the show jumping on the final day, 2 rounds. They jumped for the team positions first and then individual. Again, there were some changes in the leaderboards, but the show jumping proved its job on that final day.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's the only event in competition where you have obviously the 2 jumping rounds, and it does change the dynamics about which horses are stronger than others. So it's a real fantastic opportunity for a real proper jumping horse to come out and come up through the ranks. But yeah, look, it was a bit not sad as such, but you saw these horses that have done the full event and had to come back again once more that night. And there was a few of them that just didn't have those rounds that they obviously wanted. Certainly not the way to finish a competition. But such is the nature of the the event. We know that there's the 2 jumping rounds at the Olympics, and that's the challenge of it too. And it suits some and doesn't suit so many others. But it did change the medals around a little bit, and again to Andrew Hawes' advantage too.
Absolutely. Well, 10 clear rounds, Phil. It was a great first round for the teams.
My view on the jumping, interesting. I thoroughly agree with what Wendy said, but I just want to say that after the length of the competition in that particular atmosphere of the weather out there, I actually thought the horses looked magnificent when they'd finished. I thought, I was really impressed with what must have been a very difficult preparation for everybody. You're moving into a climate which is not something that let's face it, most riders are based in Europe these days, into a non-European climate. I thought it was fantastic the way the horses looked at the end.
Yeah, it was a testament to the team, the organizational team there, with the humidifiers, the fans, and everything to boot. It was actually, it was horses came first, and they really did look after them superbly well. So the team competition, it was phenomenal. Great Britain finished on top with a history low score. That was an amazing. They finished on such an amazing 3-place score, 86.3. The Australians in second, and then in third for the bronze medal was France, the defending team from Rio. The individuals, well, they came back and jumped again, and it's always a nail-biting time. They jump round once, they come back into that arena, and it's a tough job for them, guys.
Look, absolutely. I think it makes it easier if you're sitting on a horse that really wants to jump. And I think to be the spectator watching, you're like, Andrew jumped an amazing round. I'm like, right, that'll medal, matter of which colour. And then, next horses. And we know Tom's horse is an amazing jumper. And having seen Julia's horse in the first round, you're like, yep, she's got a real crack at this. So, yeah, it's a tough competition, but you really want to be sitting on a horse that wants to leave the floor.
What struck me was Julia at 26, and I then reflected, thinking, Wendy, you must have been in your early 20s when you achieved your gold medal in Atlanta, weren't you?
Well, it was nearly an individual too. It was nearly individual, wasn't it, too, Wendy?
Yeah, look, I was 21 in Atlanta, nearly 22, I suppose. But it was a strange situation in that it was the first time they'd done that different. Sorry, just losing the vision here. The different format. So Matt Ryan had won the 2 gold medals in Barcelona, and they said, that was, the same performance won 2 medals. So that was the first time they started to move the format around as they've been doing, a lot in sort of recent times. So yeah, look, I was very young on my pony club horse, I suppose, and we'd had been in England, and we had World Games, Europeans, badminton, and then Atlanta. So we were pretty experienced as a partnership, and I was very fortunate to actually be at the games at all. I had fractured my lower leg, my tibia and fibula 9 weeks before the Olympics. So yeah, just privileged to be there, and it was our kind of day, I suppose. We ended up finishing top of the team table, which obviously in Barcelona would have been a medal, but we knew the competition was different, and there was individual horses. I think we had like 63 in the team and 36 in the individual competition. So people say, oh, you should have won that, and I'm like, well, yeah, but it was a different competition. But yeah, no, very, very much a young kid, I suppose, at the time, but all good. Forever grateful it happened.
Absolutely.
So you'll know how Julia's feeling.
Yeah, no, she's done at a pretty high standard and beaten some of her German compatriots. Pretty impressive. So, yeah.
Well, it was 5 clear rounds, and of course, Julia Korewski was the winner, the gold medalist, the first woman in the history of 3-day eventing at the Olympic Games to win an individual feat, with Great Britain's Tom McEwen in silver. And then in the bronze, it was the only rider to finish on his dressage score out of the whole field was Australian Andrew Hoy. Amazing competition. Kazuma Tomota in fourth, very nearly on the podium. But, he will be back to fight for another day, I am sure. Well, watch out for our 3rd episode coming very soon. Phil, what can we look forward to?
Well, Spencer, we've already had an electrifying individual medal decider for the jumping, and that was truly phenomenal. We'll talk all about that on Tokyo Stories on Monday, but by then, of course, we will also have had the decider for the team medals, and we're due to be joined by a very special guest who will bring us all the insights on Monday for the next episode.
Well, that all sounds very, very exciting. I cannot wait. And if you want to find out who that special guest is, then why don't you join us? But for now, thank you very much to Phil Ghazala.
Thanks very much, Spencer.
Thank you very much to Wendy Schaeffer.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Hope you can join us for the next episode. But from us all here for Tokyo Stories, goodbye.
Bye-bye.